Welcome to the second part of my book guide, where I'll show you what you can learn in the book Developing 2D Games with Unity. My name is Yannick and this is Prod. In the last week's video, we created a movement controller for the player's character. We also built a world with the Unity's tile map system, and in the end, we created some collectibles the player can interact with. This week, I started with Chapter 6, Health and Inventory. The book taught me how to set up a health bar which will always show the current HP of the player, as well as a, let's say, decent looking inventory system. When the player walks through a health container, the health bar will get updated, while when he walks through coins, they will get collected and stored in the inventory. The chapter 7 is called Characters, Coroutines and Spawn Points. In this chapter, you learn a lot about best practices in game development with Unity. For example, the software pattern Singleton, which help you to keep your large projects organized. For this reason, I had quite some code to write in this chapter. As the end result of this chapter, I created some spawning points, one for the player as well as one for the enemies. In the enemy spawning point, you can choose if enemies are spawning every X seconds. In this example, they are spawning every 10 seconds. Last but not least, a sort of combat system was implemented, so the player now is losing HP when he's colliding with the enemy. The last chapter is called Artificial Intelligence and Slingshots. Here, the enemy character finally comes to life. He's wandering around, searching for the player, and as soon as the character gets into his side of vision, he's chasing after him. I actually found a kind of bug in the source code of the book, because the enemy isn't transitioning his animation state when he stops wandering. So the code says that the enemy is searching some random location around his current position and is walking to the next position. When he reaches his position, he should transition from the walking animation to the idle animation, but this is actually not happening. To understand the behavior of the enemy better, the book introduces you to something called gizmos. You can use gizmos to visualize anything. In this case, the side of view of the enemy as well as the line from the current position to the position he's walking at. The problem in this case was that the end position is subtracted by the current position, and if the result is almost equal to 0, then the animation state should transition. But actually the result was always a little bit too large, because subtracting two float numbers is very difficult for PCs and there's always a small error. So I fixed this line of code, and after this everything should be working as expected, and the enemy will show his idle animation when he's just standing and not walking. Perfect! The last thing that was needed was to give the player the ability to defend himself. So a slingshot was added. By pressing somewhere, the player now fires some ammo at the enemies, so when he hit them, they will get damaged and eventually die. So this is it. This is the project that you will create when you work yourself through the book. I really enjoyed working with this book because I learned a lot of new stuff that I didn't know was possible in Unity before, and now I think I'm a better developer than before. My plan is now to create a better and more enjoyable game out of this, so if you want to see what I can achieve with my new knowledge, stay tuned.